Hello students, in today's class we are going to discuss about script mode in Python. I have already told you the difference between interactive mode and script mode in Python. So when it comes to interactive mode, what we will do, which is the Python shell, we will type all the programs line by line. For each and every line, Python will check for errors. So when the statement which you have given is correct, immediately the result will be executed. But if you come across a wrong statement, immediately it will display an error. But one more thing which you can't do in interactive mode is that you cannot save the statements for future reference. So when you come across some multiple lines of code and if you wanted to save it for future purpose, you have to work only with the script mode. But even though you work in the script mode and you save all your works here, what you have to do is when you check your output, when you have to run your program and check your output, you have to check only in the Python shell, which is in the interactive mode. So all the outputs can be displayed only in the Python shell, whereas you can save all your statements in the script mode. So that is the main difference between the interactive mode and the script mode. So interactive mode, which is also called as Python shell, in that you can work and get the result then and there, but you cannot save the statements for future use. But in script mode, which is much similar to the notepad, it looks much similar to the notepad, and here you can save all your statements in a file and you can use the interpreter to execute the program. So interpreter, which is your Python shell, you can save your work but you can see the result only in the Python shell. So this is the main difference between interactive and script mode. So once you finish typing all your programs in script mode, what you have to do is you have to save your work. When you're saving your work, you have to follow up an extension as .py. So this extension you have to use. So each and every file, not only in Python programming language, all the programming languages or else whatever files which you see in computer, everything will follow up an file extension. So file extension helps you to identify what type of a file it is. So that is the reason why we save the files with file extension format. And here .py represents it is a Python file. I'll show you an example for this. See here, if you look at this files, see we have different files here. One is a Excel file is here, and then a PDF file is here, and Word file is there. So each and every file will have a different file extension, like .docx, that docx represents a Word document, and .pdf represents a PDF document, and then here .xlsx, which represents the Excel file. So by looking at the extension itself, you will be able to identify what type of a file it is. That is the reason why we give the file extensions. Clear? So Python program files you have to save with the extension .py, and this Python programs, even you can call it as the scripts. Even Python programs are also known as scripts. So when it comes to beginners, so you people are beginners now. When you start to learn about Python programming language, interactive mode will be much easy for you, because then and there you will get the result. But when it comes to saving purposes, saving all the code, you have to use work only with the script mode. When you come across multiple lines of code, obviously you have to save the code for your future reference. When you're developing a project, you will work with even more than 300 to 500 lines of code. In that case, you have to save your work. So for that purposes, script mode will be much useful. And then Python scripts, that is the Python program, it can be created using any kind of editor, like many different editors are available. Editor which is much similar to the notepad which you use. So PyCharm, Spider, Eclipse, ideally. So many different types of editors are available. And here in this Python programming language which we are studying, you are making use of ideally, which is a built-in editor. And this will allow you to create a program. You can edit your program, and when you come across errors, it allows you to make use of the debugging tools to crack all the errors. So all these things is it allows you to do in the program from a single interface itself. So let us see how to work in Python script mode, and as well I'll tell you how to save all your work now. So to work in Python script mode, just open your Python shell window, and after opening it, here go to the File tab, click on the New File option, and when you click on the New File option, the script window gets opened. So this is the script mode and this is your Python shell window. So if you look at the script mode, I'm going to type some statements here. So inside the print statement, this is my first Python programming language. It allows you to save your work. Okay, so now I have finished typing my statements, and now I'm going to save my work. To save my work, what I have to do is go to File, click on Save option, and if you click on the Save option, it will directly take you to the Python installation folder. So wherever Python has been installed, in that only you will be allowed to save your work. So this is inside the Python root folder. You have to save your work. Automatically it will take you inside that, and just give your file name as first or something. First.py I'm going to give. So just click on Save button and your file has been saved. Now to run your program, what you have to do is click on the Run option, Run tab, and here you can even press the button F5, or you can click on the Run module. So if you click on the Run module, here the result will be displayed in the Python shell window. See here, whatever I have given, this is my first Python program. It allows to save your work. So that will be displayed as the result. So this is how you will save your work and you will run your program in the shell window. Clear? And now let us see the other things regarding Python. So how to exit from Python? So exiting Python, directly you can make use of this close button, or even you can type the exit function. I'll tell you how to type the exit function. Just a minute. Okay. So to exit from Python, what you have to do is you can type quit or exit function, and if you press enter key, immediately your Python window, Python command prompt or the Python shell gets closed, or you can directly even click on the close button. Clear? So just use exit parenthesis. So this is an exit function you have to use, and if you press enter, it will ask you your program is still running or do you want to kill it, because I'm running my program here. So if you don't want to close it, you can click on cancel, or even you can make use of quit function. So either of the functions you can use it to close your Python shell window. And then variables and data types. Now we are going to discuss about variables and its types. So what is meant by a variable? First of all, so variable is nothing but a character which you use to assign a value to value for the particular character. For example, a equal to 5. If I'm going to give, what is the meaning of it? 5 is the value which I have assigned for the variable a. Whatever characters or whatever words you're going to use it here to assign a value to it, you will consider that as a variable. And the variables, even you can call it as an objects in Python. So a Python program, already I have told you, sometimes you can even call it as a script also. Yes, a Python program can be called as a script also. A Python program consists of what actually? It is a sequence of definitions and commands. So commands, if I'm going to give a print statement is a command which I'm giving to the computer. So what will happen? Immediately the computer will execute the command which I have given. And definitions, whatever syntaxes which I'm following, all those things will be evaluated inside the system. So all the definitions will be evaluated and the commands are executed by the Python interpreter, which is the Python shell. Clear? And now Python syntax. Already we have discussed syntax means rules. Much similar like in English how we follow grammar. Similarly, syntax refers to the rules in the programming language. So unless you follow a syntax, you cannot write a proper program. And the syntax, it will tell or it will define what the user and the system should write and interpret a Python program. So how you have to write the program, what are the structure you have to follow up when you're writing the program, all these things you have to follow up. So syntax refers to all these things. And when you write and run your program, you have to, before you start to write your program, you must familiarize yourself with the syntax. So without knowing the syntax, you cannot write a program. Even for a print statement or even while declaring a value to a variable, everything comes under the syntax. And syntax highlighting things also we have discussed already. So syntax is what does that syntax actually consist of? So when you look at the syntax, it consists of the variables and the data types. For example, if I'm going to define like this, see here, int followed by some variables I have defined here. So these are the variables which I have assigned to the int data type. Even this is a kind of a syntax which I have defined. So you have to follow up a syntax which consists of the variables and data type. Int is a data type, right? But in Python programming language, you don't have to define any data types because all the data types are inbuilt in Python. So when the data types are inbuilt, declaration of variables is not required at all, which you follow up in other programming languages. As well, the memory management is also automatically done by Python. So you don't have to worry about the memory management, or you don't have to worry about declaring the variables in Python programming language. So that's why it is called as Python supports dynamic typing. Clear. So if you look at C and C++ programming, for example, I have given a program here, int followed by some variables. So here you have to declare the variables to the respective data type, what program you're going to develop, and then according to the data type which you have defined for the variables, you have to give the respective values. If you're going to give 10.5 or 5.5, it will immediately display an error because you have declared as integer data type. But in Python, it is not like that. A value which you are assigning to a variable, what the Python will do, it will automatically understand that it belongs to the respective integer data type or floating point data type. So it is not necessary to define a data type in Python. And the values which you assign to the variables is, so the data type of the variable will be the same as the data type of the value. So it supports dynamic typing. All these things we have discussed. And now, so variable acts like a container. So why do we call it as a container? You can consider a simple example in your home. So in the kitchen, what your mother will do, she will store all the grains or pulses or even the rice flour, wheat flour, everything she will store inside a container. So whenever she needs, she will take that and she will replace it again if not needed in the container. So the container helps you to store something, or if you need it, you will access from the container, or if you need to change it, you will change it, right? Change the contents inside the container. Similarly, a variable acts like a container here in the programming language. So it allows you to store the values, like if a equal to 10, if I'm giving 10 gets stored inside a. So a acts like a container. Similarly, B acts like a container and C acts like a container. So that is why after processing, what will happen when you call the variable C here in the print statement, what will happen? The result will be displayed. So that's why we call this variable like a container. Clear. So it helps you to store the values and you can access or even you can change the values later. And the variable, as the name suggests, so it has been derived from the word vary. So vary means it keeps changing throughout your program execution. That is the reason why the name variable has been given. So throughout your program execution, you can change the variables or you can even store different values. All these things you can do. So when you see some relevant examples, you will understand this very clearly. And if you see, the variable provides a way to associate names with objects. So unless or until in Python programming language, if you see, unless you assign a value to a variable cannot be created. A variable will not be created at all, because in other programming languages we will define the variables. We have to declare the variables to the respective data type. But in Python, declaration of data type is not required and declaration of variables is not required. So only when you assign some value to a variable will be created in Python. Clear? And an object is simply, so object which is nothing but it consists of a collection of data and methods. So data you can call it as variables even, and methods is also called as functions, so which acts on those data. So a variable is also an object in Python. So if you see, a variable is also called as a data, and then even you can call it as an object. So for each and every term which you see here, you have many different names, so that you have to understand very clearly without getting confused. And through variable you will store the value in computer's memory, and variable is a named unit of storage. So variable, I have told you, it acts like a container, which means it helps for storing purposes, right? So that's why we call it as a named unit of storage. So the named unit of storage means a equal to 10. So a is a name which you have given for the variable, and it is a named unit of storage where the value 10 is getting stored in a. Then let us see here. See, this is a container, and the value which you are giving here, or anything which you would like to store inside the box, will be considered as a value, right? So if a equal to 5 means 5 is the value which is getting stored inside a. So int my variable, this is a variable which I have assigned to the int data type, and my variable, inside this variable I'm going to store the value 5. So this is how the variable will work. By looking at this pictures itself, you will be able to understand very clearly. Now, look at the state diagram of variable x. So x is equal to 3. So the same thing they have given again and again. X is equal to 3 means 3 is a value which has been assigned to the variable x. And in Python, if you run this, if you type this value, what will happen? See here, x is equal to 10 they have given. So this means x will store the value 10, and this x will act like a container. So it is not necessary that you have to use a print statement to print a value or to get the result. If you directly give the variable x here in the interpreter, immediately you will get the result 10. So I'll show you how this works now. See here, x is equal to 10. If I'm going to give this, it will not display the result now. But if I'm going to call the value x, and if I press enter, the value 10 will be displayed. Or even I can make use of the print statement. Within that I can use x. So the value 10 will be printed. So both work in the same way. So this is how you can call the values, or you can display the result in the Python shell. Now, some of the learning tips let us see here. Python variables are created by assigning value of the desired type to them. For example, I have told you Python variables will be created only when you assign a value to it. If you're not going to assign any values to the Python variable, a variable will not be created at all. So whatever variable you have to create, you have to assign the respective values to it. For example, if you're going to create a numeric variable, you have to assign a numeric value. If you're going to create a string variable, you have to assign a string value to the variable name. For example, a is equal to 5.5, which means I have created a floating point data type. If I'm going to give a is equal to Raji within quotes, if I'm going to give, which means I have created a string data type. So you have to give the respective values to the variable name. So if you look at this following code here, much similar to the mathematical process which you have studied till your 10th standard. So here they have assigned a few values for x is equal to 3 and y is equal to 4, and in the value of z, x plus y. So what will happen? The value of x and y will be added. So 3 plus 4, which is 7, and now the value of z is 7. Got it? And now what will happen? Straight away to this I have given the working example. So I have told you the value of a variable keeps changing throughout your program execution, right? So what are they doing here is a z is equal to z plus 1 they have given. So what they are doing here is they are adding 1 to the value z. Now the value of z is 7. So if I add 1 to this, what will happen? The value of z will become 8. Now you understood. The value of the variable keeps changing throughout the program execution. And now here they are assigning the value of y to x. So what will happen? The value of y is 4. So x is equal to 4, and then y is equal to 5, and z is equal to 8. So directly you can use these values. So directly you can make use of these statements in the Python shell to get the result. And to print everything, you can make use of the print statement. So to make use of the print statement, look at the difference here. Same coding they have typed here, and followed by that they have used the print statement. So if you look at Z stores the value 8, so that 8 will be printed. Z is 8, and X stores the value 4, that 4 will be printed here, and Y has the value 5, that 5 will be printed here. So this is how you can work with Python script mode. And when you're checking the output, this is how you will check your output using the run mode, run option. I'll tell you how this works now. Using the script mode, I'll tell you how it works. See, as usual, they will type everything here in the script mode, and after typing, what you have to do is just go to file option, and if you click on save, your work gets saved. And after saving, you have to click on the run option, and in run you have to choose run module F5. So if you click on, or even you can press the button F5 from the keyboard. So either option you can make use of to run the program. This is how you have to work with script mode. I hope you have understood today's class, and let us meet in the next class, children. Thank you.